So settling yourself in your chosen position, whether that's lying on your back or sitting with your legs gently strapped a little bit to support them, or your legs up onto a chair, a bed, a sofa, wherever feels comfy for you. Have a couple of sighing out breaths. It's that opportunity to let go of the busyness of the day. Let go of all the different pulls on your time, your attention that have been made on you earlier on. That chance to arriving onto your mat for your yoga practice. And take a moment to notice the position that you're in and allowing any parts of you that are in contact with the mat, the floor underneath you, to let go, to feel heavy. So using that out breath to feel heavy. If you're lying down, checking that you've got some space between your shoulders and your ears, so you might just reach your fingers down towards your toes. If you're sitting, using that sighing out breath to let your shoulders settle away from your ears. Allow your legs to feel heavy and soft, whatever the position you're in. So each out breath, your body feels heavy. And allowing each in-breath to let your body feel a little light. And it's that kind of lightness that comes with ease, with letting go, with arriving onto your mat. You're here, it's your time for the next hour or so, giving yourself the time to be here for your yoga practice. Notice your breath. When you take your awareness to your breath, simply noticing where you notice it. So if the body's still coming to the mat and calming and stilling, and maybe it's been super busy this evening, your breathing might feel a little bit rapid, a little bit high up, somewhere under your collarbones. And by noticing it, you can then very actively take the breath a little bit deeper to the mid part of your lungs and begin to notice the movement of your ribs. So as you breathe in, your ribs move a little bit towards your upper arms. As you breathe in, notice the front of your chest moving. And as you breathe in, notice the movement across your upper back. Encouraging the breath to be soft, to be long, to be slow. But it's easy, it's an easy breathing, not exaggerated, not trying to suck in lots and lots of air. And then taking the breath a little bit deeper to the very bottom part of your lungs, allowing your abdominal muscles to soften. And it creates that sensation that you breathe into your abdomen, and we know that we don't, but it's as if you breathe into your abdomen, so you notice your abdomen moving with the breath. So lying down, we can completely let go of the abdominal muscles. Sitting up, they're held a little bit to help us sit up. Just be aware of that and notice the breath as if you breathe into your abdomen. Holding your focus with your breath, noticing if there are distractions and things that take your attention away from noticing your breath. Simply acknowledge them and then bring your focus back to your breath. Breathing into the very bottom part of your lungs and breathing out. So as you breathe into the very bottom part of your lungs, take the breath all the way down, then bring it into the mid part of the lungs. And then as you breathe out, emptying the lungs from the bottom and then the middle part. Breathing into the bottom part and then the middle part of the lungs. And breathing out, emptying from the bottom and then the middle. Keeping that going, noticing that you breathe in, your tummy moves a little bit, then your ribs. Breathing out, your tummy moves a little bit, then your ribs. Breathing into the bottom of your lungs, then the middle part, then a little bit into the top part. Tiny movement, very subtle movement underneath your collarbones. And as you breathe out, emptying bottom, middle, top. Breathing in bottom, middle, top. Breathing in bottom, middle, top. And as you breathe out, drawing your abdominal muscles backwards towards the back of your pelvis, encouraging a slightly deeper, stronger out breath. Then release those muscles completely and allow the in-breath to happen. Thinking filling the lungs from the bottom, middle to the top. As you breathe out, emptying from the bottom to the middle to the top, using your abdominal muscles to make that breath a little bit stronger, drawing your tummy button as if you're taking it towards the back of your pelvis. And then soften those muscles to breathe in. As you breathe out, taking your abdominal muscles back towards the back of your pelvis and then lifting ever so slightly like you're trying to tuck them under your ribs. Release the muscles and then breathe in. Breathing out, drawing the abdominal muscles back and up. Release and breathe in. After your next out breath, excuse me, releasing the focus on your breath. Allow your breath to simply be and notice it. Notice your body, notice the stillness. So have a quick check-in while you're in that comfy position that you're in now. Have a quick check-in with your body. Noticing anything that feels tight and that you want to ease. Noticing anything that's sore or injured, particularly into those joints. Give yourself permission to move in the right way for you this evening. As always, check in that you have the space around you when you're working in your room. And just moving in the right way for you. So ease yourself back gently, wiggling fingers and toes. If you're lying down, you might hug your knees to your chest, have a little rock. Super. So we're going to come round to sitting. Obviously, some of you might be there already. Heading yourself around to a sitting position. So if you're happy to sit cross-legged and that suits your knees, then cross-legged sitting is absolutely fine. If you would rather sit with one leg, both legs out straight, that's absolutely fine. The other thing to think about, lost my block. Other thing to think about is having a block or a book underneath your bottom. So if you're sitting on a block, you want to just shuffle yourself so those pointy sit bones underneath dangle just over the front of the block, and it wants to move about a bit. That's going to have you sitting much more upright. Little bit of a tendency potentially if there's tightness in the legs to slouch or to kind of want to hug onto knees if they're quite high up. So your choice entirely with where you are. It could be a leg out, it could be both. You want to have your legs up, if you've got both legs out, you want to have them apart as a bit of a stabiliser so you don't completely rock. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is take your right hand behind your back, left hand out to the side, fingers connecting with the floor, and then wander the fingers away and wander them back. And swap arms. You can use the breath, so breathing out, wandering the fingers away and wandering them back. Swapping arms, breathing out to side stretch and breathing in to come back. Super, so we get into that rhythm. The hands are just walking, your fingers are walking, so we're not putting any weight into the arms. We're simply noticing how the side bending feels. And that you've probably got one side that's a little bit tighter, so you can go more of a bend one side and the opposite side of your pelvis will stay on the floor. And then you go to the other side and you wander a little bit, and already then maybe the bottom wants to lift and you want to head over. So simply noticing, you become aware then of one side of your body that feels tight. Brilliant. So next time you take your right hand out to the right, take it as far as you want to go, put your hand down onto the mat, and then roll your left shoulder away behind you. It's like you're slightly turning your chest over to the left. Brilliant. Push the hand into the floor, anchors the left side of your pelvis down onto the floor. That shoulder rolls back again just in case it's moved, and then we can ease the hand from behind the back and reach up to the ceiling. So you're reaching to the ceiling with the hand that's up in the air, you're pushing the other hand into the floor. You've got a little bit of a lean of that left shoulder back, because then we know we're going to be leaning against an imaginary wall behind us. Use your out breath to move the arm a little bit towards the ear. Pause when you want to breathe in. Use your out breath to move the arm a little bit more. Pause when you want to breathe in. Move the arm a little bit more with your out breath. Push the hand into the floor. Reach your left fingers over to the right. Fantastic. Turn the palm to face the ceiling. Breathe in and lift up. And breathe out, bring the arm down. Breathe in and wander yourself back to centre. Right arm behind your back, left arm walks out to the side. Find that place where it's comfy to put your hand down onto the floor. Push into the floor, it anchors the right side of the pelvis. Roll your right shoulder back a bit. You're leaning against an imaginary wall that allows you to bring the arm up into space. So you're reaching for the ceiling with your right arm, your left hand pushing into the floor. That anchors the right side of your pelvis down. Super. A little bit of a tilt backwards with that shoulder so your chest is slightly looking over to the side. And then we know that the back's kind of straight in one plane. I know your side bending. It's like you're leaning against an imaginary wall. So reaching up to the ceiling with one hand and then slowly lowering the arm towards the ear with an out breath. Slow movement. I need to move, keep that action going. Brilliant. Sorry, just got to plug the computer in. Marvellous. So, champion. And then turn your palm to face the ceiling. Breathe in, lift it up. Breathe out, lower the arm down. Breathing back to sitting. Super. So take your left arm behind your back and wander your right hand out to the side again. And then lift that hand up and take it just a little bit further so the left side of your pelvis lifts. You have a little rock. Push the hand into the floor and slowly ease that pelvis back down. Roll the shoulder back, bring the arm up and reach. Just move the shoulders slightly back so you're kind of turning your chest a little bit, and you are leaning against that imaginary wall. Keep pushing the hand into the floor to anchor that hip down and down and down towards the floor. Okay? And then you're going to just let this arm drop back in space. So I'll go sideways so you can see what I mean. So the arm is up and you're just going to let it drop back. Not necessarily a big movement. What you want to be doing is playing about with where the arm is, kind of here, or here, or here, wherever, to let it drop back in space so you feel quite a big stretch into your underarm. Brilliant. And when you next breathe in, bring yourself back to centre and head over to the other side and reach a little bit further. The pelvis comes up and use the hand that's on the floor, the left hand, to ease the right side of the pelvis all the way down, and then bring the right arm up. Have a little bit of a turn so you take your chest slightly over to that side and let the arm drop back in space. And breathe. Fantastic. And with your next in-breath, bring yourself up. Out-breath brings your arms down. Have a little wiggle and a jiggle and head to cat. So finding that comfy place on your hands and your knees, connecting in with your breath as you move. So your imaginary little tail sticks up, your chest, your gaze lifts, you look forwards, you breathe in. Tucking your imaginary little tail, breathing out, looking maybe to your knees, maybe up to your pubic bone, towards your tummy button. Little stick of the imaginary tail up, chest and gaze comes up, breathe in. And then tuck your tail, breathe out, look down. So moving your breathing speed, and each time the breath wants to change, you start with the tilt of the pelvis as the breath wants to change. It sends that ripple down your spine, and just as that breath finishes, the head is the last part to move. So at the very end of your in-breath, your gaze looks up. And at the very end of your out-breath, your head is really tucking underneath you. So finding that lovely, slow, easy way to move your back around. Brilliant. Quite nice to get a forward bend and a back bend after you've been doing all of that side stretching. So after your next in-breath, easing yourself to sit on your feet just a moment to have a look around you and take your block, place it close to you, come back to your cat position, so you've got your block handy. You're going to take your bottom all the way back to your heels and reach forward, super reaching forward. So if you've got your bottom quite close to your heels, this super reach forward is a perfect place for your hands to be for coming up to dog. If you've got your bottom further away from your heels because your knees don't want you to go further back, when you reach with your hands, you're going to be in completely the wrong place for dog. So you need to sort of make those little adjustments of not having your hands quite so far forwards. So as you come up, tuck your toes under and then take your bottom all the way back to your heels and lift and come to dog. So when you get up to dog, have your knees a little bit bent. Bending your knees is going to give you that chance to tilt your pelvis. Don't worry about walking your legs. Let's get a lovely line in the back. So bend your knees and take your chest towards your bent knees and tilt your pelvis and take your tail up into the air. And then slowly work at taking your tail higher and higher, which allows your legs to straighten, or working towards your legs straightening. But keeping that sense of your back being really lovely and long. So from your pelvis, there's a straight line that drops through your shoulders, through your elbows to your wrists. And then bringing yourself back down. Take your bottom back to your heels. And come back down. Come to sitting just for a moment. So a couple of things with this one. Okay, so depending on where your hands are here, okay, and your bottom, this is usually about the right place. You come up into dog. If you're super keen to get your heels to the floor, you're going to round your back because we haven't done anything with the hamstring. So really bend the knees and tilt the pelvis to take the back, lovely and long. And then ease your heels, but without swinging about with the pelvis, just lower the heel down to the floor and keep pushing your hands into the mat. When you come down, you might bring your feet in slightly and take your bottom back towards your heels. So the very last thing that comes down to the floor is your knees. And then come back to cat and have an ease. Okay? So take yourself up into dog. Much more interested in you getting length in your back than worrying this evening about hamstrings at the moment, okay? So bend the knees and tilt the pelvis like you do when you breathe in cat. We can only really get that tilt in the pelvis if we bend the knees a little bit because the hamstrings sometimes are just a bit too tight. Fantastic. Then when you've got that lovely line in your back, You could lower one heel at a time to the floor. You might lift and lower the heels. Be careful that you don't swing the hips around. Fantastic. And then ease yourself down, taking your bottom back towards your heels and keeping your knees lifted until that very last moment. Lovely. And then come to cat and have an ease about in cat. Watch out for hypermobility in your elbows. Push your index finger down into the floor so it turns your inner elbow to face one another. Brilliant. Tuck your toes under. Go up to dog again. Have a little ease about in dog. We're not staying here too long. We're going to deepen it a little bit more though. So wander your hands to your feet to your hands. Bend your knees deeply and super glue your abdomen to your thighs. So if you're not sure what I mean, we've ended up here. So we're in a sort of forward bend, but you've got your abdomen super glued to your thighs. Just have a check of where your feet are and bring your feet reasonably close together, but with a little bit of space between them. Outside edges of your feet parallel. Tummy and thighs super glued together. Take hold of your ankles. Your elbows are bent. Let your head drop to the floor. Look between your calf muscles. Bend your knees deeply. Use your hands to draw your head towards the floor. So your elbows stay this bent. Your head works towards the floor and your sit bones slowly move towards the ceiling. Most important thing is to keep your body-thigh contact. If you straighten your legs, you're just going to curve your back. So bend your knees and keep your knees and your abdomen, your thighs in contact with one another. Hold on to your ankles, tilt forwards, let your head drop towards the floor and slowly lift your sit bones. Don't let the legs go straight. The legs go straight, you're going to bend your back. Brilliant. So pulling down with your hands on your ankles and lifting your sit bones. And then bending your knees deeply, lifting your head and your chest and bringing your elbows onto your knees. It's almost like you're about to sit in a chair, but not quite. So you're quite low down, your bottom's quite low down, your knees are bent. We're just lifting the head and the chest a little bit to stop ourselves feeling entirely like a beetroot just for a moment. Gives us a chance to have a little look around and find our blocks. So you're going to bend your knees a little bit more deeply, super glue your thighs and your chest and your abdomen together. Reach the block forwards, have it angled away from you. Keep the chest and the gaze lifted. Walk the block to the upright. Keep the head and the chest lifted. Keep your abdomen super glued to your thighs and start to lift your sit bones behind you up and away. Keep your chest and your gaze lifting, looking at your fingers, driving your bottom away behind you. So bring your left hand to the middle of the block, bend your knees, take your right hand to the outside edge of your left ankle, turn your body to look to the left, turn it deeply under that arm, knees are quite bent, and then start to lift your sit bones as you draw your body further under your arm and turn. You can hear it in my voice. Brilliant. Staying there, I'm just coming to look to check at the screen. Staying there, breathing. Checking where your weight is. Balls of the feet. Turn under your body, look towards the ceiling. Keep thigh and chest contact. You're holding the opposite ankle. Lovely. Turn yourself back to centre. Bring your right hand to the block. Look at your fingers. Lift your chest and your gaze. Bend your knees deeply. Lengthen out the back again in that lovely forward bend. And then wander your right hand into the middle of the block. Bend your knees deeply. Look down at your feet. Reach your left hand to the outside edge of your right ankle. Turn your body under your arm. Weight in the balls of the feet. Reach your left hand to your right ankle, opposite side, so you're twisting underneath your right arm. Looking underneath your right arm, holding onto your right ankle with your left hand. Swap them over, Jana. Brilliant. It's a killer in your thighs. Keep going. It's great for you though. Honestly, super strengthening. Fantastic. Slowly lifting your bottom up to the ceiling. Don't expect your legs to go straight. They're not going to go straight. Keep your body thigh contact. Fantastic. Turn yourself back to centre. Reach for that block. Lower your bottom. Bend your knees. Reach for the block. Look at your fingers. And make sure you've got lots of weight in your feet. Just let the block go. Bring your hands to your waist. Bend your knees a little bit more. Lower your bottom. And start to bring your upper body to the vertical. Keeping your knees as bent as you can until you get your body to as vertical as you can get it with your knees as bent as you can. I know your thighs are squealing at you. It's almost over. And when you get your body to the vertical, slowly straighten your legs. Give them a shake. Brilliant. Come to your mountain pose just for a moment to stand. Let everything catch up with itself, the breath. Be aware of that energy. Be aware of all of that energy, prana, racing around in your body, and then noticing it calming and stilling a little bit. Fantastic. Just bringing yourself to a comfy mountain pose. So generally speaking, you've got a kind of grapefruit size between the balls of your feet. You've got the outside edges of your feet parallel. Knees are a little bit soft, not locked back. Breathe in, take your arms up. And breathe out, bring your arms down. Breathe in, take your arms up. And breathe out, bring your arms down. I'm turning just so you can see me side on. Breathe in, take your arms up. Lift the front of your chest a little bit. Gaze up to that space between your hands. Don't nip in the back of your neck though. And bend your knees. Breathing. And then lower your knees down, let your body lean forwards. But keeping your upper arms super glued close to your ears if you can, but keeping the arms high up. So lower the bottom a little bit, lift the chest and the arms and breathe. Lower the bottom a little bit, lift the chest and the arms, draw the tummy button to the spine. And breathe. Lower the bottom, lift the chest and the arms. Draw your tummy button to your spine and breathe. Slowly work towards bringing your upper body towards the vertical with each in-breath, and then powering into your legs to come up, breathing out, bringing your arms down. Have a little roll of your shoulders. Brilliant. So we're going to add a little bit of that twisting together with chair. So this position here is chair pose, and we can turn that into a little bit of a twist as well. So I'm just going to show you, because to do it and watch a screen which might be higher up than you are is a nigh on impossibility. So have a little bit of a watch. I'll show you from different angles. Okay, you're going to bring your hands to Anjali Mudra. Bend your knees. You have to be quite deep with this bend. Then you're going to turn. You're going to put your outside edge of the upper arm to the outside edge of that leg. You've got your top hand pushing into that bottom hand to give you a little bit of turn. Okay? Back to centre. You could go straight to the other side. You could come up, have an ease, and then go back to do the other side. Okay? So come to standing. Find your comfy standing position. Personally, at this point, I'd have your feet a little bit apart with the outside edges of your feet parallel. Just be aware that as you bend, you don't have your knees coming together. If they want to come together, bring your feet together so that nothing happens to your knees. If your feet are apart, track your kneecap with your second toe. Okay, hands to Anjali Mudra. And you have to sit down into a chair and get yourself quite low, tummy connected with the thighs, and then turn. You might have to just ease the body round to get the outside edge of that arm onto the outside edge of the leg. It doesn't matter which way you turn, we're going to do each side. The hand that's on top, notice you can push it down into the other hand, and it encourages the body to turn a little bit more. Breathe, because you're twisting and you're folding forwards and you're balancing. Super tempting to hold your breath. Fantastic. Turn yourself back to centre. Make a choice. Come back up. Have an ease. Have a move around. Have a little groove. And then go to the other side, or go straight to the other side. It depends. You might have run out of puff twisting down there and need to come up. It doesn't matter. Brilliant. Just watch those knees. Coming down into a deep, kind of almost sitting into a big comfy armchair, but not quite, and turning. Fantastic. But you don't have to hold it any longer than you want to. You come back to mountain pose. Get back to mountain pose and just let everything catch up with itself. Because you're forward bending, you're balancing, you're twisting. There needs to be that little moment to let all that kind of energy and prana just calm itself down just a touch. So let's bring our feet close together. So when the inside of my feet are absolutely together, my knees don't quite know which one to sit in front of the other, so my knees are absolutely wedged together. That's quite handy. What I want you to think about is a little bit of Velcro just between your knees, so your knees can't move at all. What we're going to do, I'll turn sideways to show you, is we're going to pour the weight into one leg and just see what it feels like to slide the other one away behind and lift. And just notice what it feels like. So it's not this, It's keeping the knees together and sliding. You might have your toes on the mat and then lift the heel. The toes might stay down. If you have your hands at Anjali Mudra, push the palms of your hands together. It does help the balance because you're connecting the right side and the left side. You could put the tip of your tongue into the roof of your mouth. That could help just a little bit. Super. So we try it out one side and then we slowly lower that leg and slide it back into position and try the other side. Check that your knees are absolutely velcroed together. All will become clear shortly as to why we need this action rather than this action. Okay, knees super glued together, slide the foot away behind and lift the heel. Marvellous. When you've had a go on each side, then just bring yourself back to mountain pose. Have a little watch while you're standing there. I'll go this way round. So we lower ourselves down, we turn, we get ourselves into that position you were in before. I know you can't see the turning that I'm doing so much, but it's the leg I want you to watch. So you slide the leg away, super glue the knees and lift. Toes back down, slide into position, back to centre and come up. Okay? So same twist that you were in before, sitting right down into that chair doing the twist and then making the decision once you're in that twist about whether you want to stand on one leg. The leg that you stand on is the one that you're leaning on with your arms. Don't try and lift that one. Lift the other one. Okay? Doesn't work otherwise. So hands to Anjali Mudra. Lower yourself all the way down, deep into that sitting position. Then turn. Enjoy the twist. Be there. Settle yourself. Find that comfort. Personally, I think you have to look at the floor for this one, but entirely up to you. Pour the weight into the leg you're leaning on and then see if the other foot wants to gently slide away behind you. Sliding it away and having the toes connected to the floor, still a fantastic balance. The toes might lift, they might not. Brilliant. Be careful, take your time, foot comes back down, turn back to centre, stand up, ease about a little bit, catch your breath again because it makes you kind of feel quite breathless because you're forward bending and twisting and balancing and possibly holding your breath, hoping that the balance goes a little bit better. So breathe and have a go to the other side. See how that feels. And maybe that leg comes up. It's the leg that you're not leaning on, it's the other one. The leg you're standing on is really quite supremely bent as well. If you've got the standing leg straight, you're forward bending. Okay? So if you're here and you've ended up in a forward bend and you're lifting that leg, that's not the almost half squat and twist and moving that leg, okay? It's quite different. What you want to do is find a bit of a seesaw balance with where your centre of gravity is. Once you've had a go to each side, come up. Have a big breath in and reach your arms up, have a stretch. And breathe out, bring your arms down. Have a roll of your shoulders. Super. We're coming back down to the floor. We're coming to sit in Dandasana. So legs are out in front of you. It's quite nice to just grab hold of that extra muscle and scoop it from underneath you on each side to find your sit bones. It helps sit you upright a little bit. Brilliant. So we've already done quite a lot of twisting. We're going to do tiny bit more. We're going to turn to one side. So hug up with your right knee and step it across your left foot. So the right foot somewhere near the left knee. Use the hands on the right knee to just lift yourself tall. Bring your right arm to the inside edge of your right leg, and you can rest the hand on the shin, the ankle, the foot somewhere here. Take the left arm behind you, close to your bottom, and use that hand to get your spine lovely and tall. Breathe out and have a little turning action to the side. You can use your right knee moving towards your right arm moving towards your right knee as a small lever into that turn. Brilliant. Draw yourself back to centre, unravel your right leg, draw up with the left, step your left foot over your right leg. Hold on to that knee and sit yourself tall. Bring your left arm to the inside edge of your left leg, right arm behind you, and use the right arm to sit you tall, and then ease your body round to the right. Lovely. And ease yourself back. And unravel your legs and give them a little bit of a wiggle. Just have a quick watch, because this one truly is impossible to do by staring at a little screen and doing everything that you're going to be doing. So we're going to hug up with the right knee, step it across, have a little bit of a turn. Many of you know this one, jazz hands. Keep the turn going, swivel around and come to dog. And then bring yourself back down and maybe have another go. It's quite nice to sit to the right side of your mat because you've got mat to turn into. So if you sit to the right side of your mat, right knee comes up, step it over your left leg, have a little turn, just where you were before. When you've got to that comfy turn, you could bring the hands up so you know you can balance. You can continue the turn and bring your hands down, pivot and come to dog. Bring yourself down. One more on that side. Sit to the right side of your mat. Hug your right knee up. Step it over your left leg. Have a little turn to the left. Then think about continuing that turn as you jazz hand and turn and come up to dog. Brilliant. I love that as you all turn from that to dog, I just get this massive sea of bottoms on my screen. It's brilliant. Wonderful. And everybody's done it again, so that's totally awesome. So this time, we're going to do it to the other side. So if you go to the left side of your mat, okay, you sit to the left side of your mat because it's your left knee that hugs up and steps across. Sit yourself tall, turn to the right, keep the turning action happening and pivot yourself round to dog. Okay? And it's a bit of a, you know, feel for your hands and your feet as you pivot round, but you end up in dog. Come back down to the left side, have another go, swivel yourself around, just because then the body gets to know from the left side, from the right side, how do I swivel myself around from sage pose with a little twist to dog. Magic. So when you've done your 3 to each side and you think, okay, that's gone into my little memory bank for another time, then bring yourself to cat. Have a little ease about with your back in cat. Super. And after your next in-breath when you're looking up, bring yourself to a flat back cat. Have a look at the space between your hands and bring your right foot into that space between your hands. And then take the foot back to cat. Have a look at that space between your hands and bring your left foot into that space. And take your foot back to cat. One more to each side, just notice what has to move. So it could be that when you bring the leg through, you've got to take the hand from the mat and move the shoulder a bit. All depends on the length of your shin bone and also the movement in your ball and socket joint. Super. So this is always an option to get from one position to another via cat. So come back to cat. Take your bottom back, reach your arms forward, come up, come to dog. Have a little ease about in dog. And then look at the space between your hands by bringing some body weight forwards and bring your right foot into that space between your hands. And then step back to dog. Bend your knees, push your hands into the mat, find a proper, lovely long line in your back in dog. And then come forwards a bit, look at the space between your hands and follow with the left leg into that space. And then step back to dog. Try again with the right side. And go back and try again with the left. Know that it's a fantastic modification if you've come down to cat to bring that leg through. Okay? Because that makes it the right modification for you. So from dog, you come to cat, you move that leg through, or you go from dog to move that leg through. They're variations on the way the body wants to get there. Okay? Fantastic. If you're coming from dog to a foot coming through, of course you've got the back leg straight. So if you're going from dog to cat to bring in that foot through, we've got to see if we can get that back leg straight. Then you come back down to cat, you go to dog, you go to cat, you take the other foot through and take the back leg straight. So we all end up in exactly the same place at the beginning, which is dog, and the end place, which is a lunge, but you might do it via cat. Exactly the same. Okay? So we've got little bits of things that next week we'll add to and string together. It's time to come down and relax. So find your socks, find your jumpers, find your blankets, find your eye pillows, find your bolsters, find your bits of furniture to put your legs up on, find your straps to put your knees close together if you want to. Anything at all that feels right for you. It is lovely to have your legs up. It's lovely to have your legs supported on a bolster, on beautiful new bolsters, I notice. Brilliant. Your legs could be up a wall, they can be on a sofa, on a chair, they could be on a bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, a pile of cushions, a pile of books with a couple of cushions on top, anything at all. settling and easing. Fantastic. And once you've got yourself into your comfy relaxation position, have a couple of big sighing out breaths. And because you're all on mute, it's absolutely fine to make a great big sound with your sighing out breath. And know that with that sound of sighing, you really do let go a little bit more. Once you're into that relaxation position, just have a little bit of a check-in. How's your lower back? If it feels a touch short, like the back of your ribs are a bit too close to your pelvis, then lift your bottom slightly, tilt your pelvis like you're taking your tail away from your ribs, and lower the back down onto the mat to make it a little bit longer. If you're not sure if your shoulders have kind of come up towards your ears, point your hands down, your fingers down towards your feet, and then let the arms flop. And notice where your arms want to be. So they can be really close in by your side. Your hands could be on your tummy. If your arms are straight down by your side, you could rotate your arms slightly at the shoulders so the palms of the hands face the body, or a little bit more and the palms of the hands face the ceiling. It all depends on what's comfy in your shoulders. You could have your head propped on a cushion, on a pillow. So you've got a slight angle on the head, the forehead ever so slightly higher than your chin. Oh, maybe you need a couple more sighing out breaths. Take your awareness to your breath and connect back again with that full yoga breath that you breathe right the way down into your abdomen, then a bit into the ribs, then a little bit more under the collarbones. And as you breathe out, let the abdomen soften, the ribs, and then the space under your collarbones. Soft, easy breathing. Breathing in bottom, middle, top. Breathing out bottom, middle, top. We're going to breathe and count. You're going to count backwards with your out breath from 20. So with your next out breath in your mind, thinking 20, and breathing in with your next out breath, 19, and breathing in and keeping that going. Noticing then that your mind might wander off, and simply being aware of that and bringing your count back to 20. And counting backwards with your out breath from 20. If you get to 0, come back to 20 and start again. Being aware that it's not about this kind of inner competition to get to 0. It's about allowing a focus for the mind to be on something, counting your breath. I'm going to let you do that for the next couple of minutes without the sound of my voice, and then you'll hear me again. After your next out breath, then releasing the focus that you have with your count. Let your focus, your awareness return to yourself, your body. Taking a moment to notice where you are, noticing the supports that you have underneath you. In your mind's eye, picturing yourself in your room, where the doors are, where the windows are, furniture. Reconnecting in with that space so that as you begin to move, you move safely and with awareness to bring yourself carefully back. Easing yourself back to a comfy sitting position in your own time.